Welcome back to Real French Connections. Today we meet Eric and Jen, who've moved from Arizona to Mougins near Cannes with their two teenage daughters. Let's find out how it's going so far. I'm very, very, very pleased to meet you both.
Do you want me to close the blind a little so it's not glaring on your face?
Yeah, I'll pull this.
We're trying to make some space for
Beautiful morning here, so.
Yes, it's beautiful and sunny here, which we love, but
Well, that's a good place to start. Where are
Yeah.
you that's so beautiful and sunny?
so we're in Mougins, so we're about 10 minutes outside of Cannes. And usually 300 days of sunshine a year, but we had about 10 days of rain, so we're soaking in.
So actually, you probably used up all the rain there is.
We usually don't get as much rain, but we got a spell, and now we're thankful that it's gone and the sun's.
Oh, it's beautiful now. It's absolutely. Where are you, Lizzie?
I live in the Luberon, so
Okay.
actually not that far away from you.
Oh, nice.
Like you, we have a lot of sun. It's sort of a little microcosm of usually good weather, but with some aberrations this year, I have to say. So when did you arrive?
July 2nd.
July
Oh.
2nd.
Very recently and in the middle of summer.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
we knew we needed to leave Arizona by the 1st of July because it gets really hot there. And then landed here, did some traveling, and then settled into our home in August. And our girls started school the 1st of September.
I need to know about the girls. It's not everybody who comes over, makes that move to France and brings their family. How old are the girls?
We thought about leaving them at home. They wouldn't be too well. Actually, they may have been happy about it.
Yeah. No, they're so they actually just have both had birthdays being here. So they're 11 and 13 now.
Okay.
And two girls, and I have to give them a lot of credit. They've done really, really well. We took two English-speaking American children and plopped them into a very foreign environment. Luckily, their school is English speaking, so they are at a British school, which helps that instruction is still in English for them. So they're learning French, but they're in a very international school, which I think is such a benefit to them being on sabbatical and having the opportunity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they must be meeting other children from actually all over the world, because that's the point of the English-speaking schools, isn't it?
Yeah. They friends from
Everywhere.
Poland, Hungary, UK, some French kids as well. It's really nice with an international program, but Russia, Ukraine, everywhere. So it's been a great exposure for them, and great also when you come in and there are other kids that have immigrated as well.
Yes.
So they all understand what it's like to be the new kid.
Yeah.
Not without its challenges of just navigating a new school environment, but they've done very well considering.
So what have they said to you? What have they noticed most about the differences? Because that's 11 and 13 is it's quite a delicate age anyway, isn't it, in their lives? So, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Kids are kids no matter where they're from. So, or younger, it's kind of like she came in and there's a universal language of play. And so you kind of see them on the playground and they have fun and they find things in common. And I think because English is such a central language, they've watched a lot of American movies and TV, stuff like that. So they've all found common ground. Our girls have both been pretty competitive volleyball players, so we immediately put them into a volleyball club. And there's the universal language of sport. So they've had the ability to connect with other kids in a way that it was a passion or a hobby or something of theirs. There's always challenges with being in a different school program and, different style of teaching language. They say that there's a big difference between their British teachers and their French teachers.
Yeah.
And just approach. But I would say they've kind of integrated probably better than we expected they would. I think we had some reservations as to how they were. Were they going to make friends when they first got here? Were they going to, find other people that they made a connection with? And they both did within the first week.
Were they excited about coming?
Hmm.
Honestly, I would say yes for the vacation aspect of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the
Because
summer
of
we
course
hit
you
here.
arrived in the summer in the school holidays
Yeah.
anyway, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, the
Mhm.
summer was we basically just did a big lap of from the coast to the mountains and back to the coast. And so we spent month and a half
Yeah.
on the road,
Having an adventure.
having an adventure. I mean,
Family
had a
time.
great time. Yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, it was fantastic. And
Yeah.
then kind of the reality of, okay, now we're going to settle into school. You know, the truth is, I think for all of us, to some degree, it's foreign, but it's also less foreign than we anticipated. I think the world has become so much more, for better or worse, homogenized. We are trying to learn French, and we've always try and force ourselves to kind of get uncomfortable, and yet as soon as we stumble, they launch right into English.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I do.
So,
I agree with you there.
You know, we've generally found where we're at is the people that have made the choice to be here have made the choice because of quality of life change,
Yeah.
which is exactly what we did. So you find people, I think, that align with your value system wherever you go, but we've generally found that the people that chose a south of France lifestyle versus a Parisian
Yeah.
sabbatical, just have a different way about them. They're,
much more
they
relaxed.
are much more relaxed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
weather, the food, the pace of life, it definitely suits what we were looking for. I understand for others, they want more of the go, 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 and they want to be in the big city.
Yeah.
Um, we're not at that
Yeah.
stage of life.
So was
We're
that for you, is this a sabbatical or is this could it become a permanent change or are you really thinking of it as sort of a year-long
Yeah.
we're here.
adventure, family adventure?
I
We,
think it started as something and has evolved. And we've always said once we got here, we're open to wherever it takes us. But for both of us, the impetus was a wholesale career stop,
Oh,
um, which
interesting.
seemed counterintuitive considering the age that we're both at. We both had very successful, high functioning corporate jobs,
mhm.
if you will. So for us to go from 20 years on the, work track, corporate treadmill, high success, high functioning, um, employee, business owner, executive track to full stop and home with our kids
Yeah.
all the time. It's been a big family shift, family
Yeah,
change. I think it's been
nice,
great
very
for all
nice.
of us where
Yeah.
we at this point, the best gift we can give our kids is our time and our
Yeah.
ability to spend time with them at 11 and 13. They're only a few years away from high school and college and all that. So this was
Mhm.
a very conscious decision to step back from that.
Yeah.
But the quality of life, the pace of life, everything here, we've said we're open to the opportunity if the kids continue to thrive and
Yeah.
do well and integrate and make friends and have great relationships here, and we find that we are leaning towards staying, we can. And I think we'll make that choice as we know more. But
Yeah.
right now we're kind of in that middle ground of I think we're still in the honeymoon phase
Mhm.
Yes.
of
Long may it
everything.
last.
Yeah,
What
it's
you've given the kids is just such a precious gift, isn't it?
if you
Yeah.
ask an 11 and 13-year-old moving to a foreign country in a different school, they wouldn't necessarily call it a gift, but
No,
they're coming along to appreciating what the experience is.
yeah.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And so you left Arizona.
Mhm.
Um, did you pack up and leave, or have you given yourself a way back if you want to
Well,
go
we
back
definitely
to
would.
your
Yeah,
exact
well, essentially everything's kind of in suspended animation back home. I
right?
mean, our house, all of our, we've essentially just relocated ourselves and, a limited amount of our creature comforts we brought along. But
Yeah.
yeah, we wanted to keep all of our options open.
Yeah.
So our intent is to be here for 2 years. That way our oldest can, when we go back home, our oldest would start high school.
Perfect.
Uh, and yet it has to work for all of us. And so far it's working great for us. And I would say our kids are doing fantastic, but it's still, I mean, look, we're only two
Oh,
and a half months into school, September,
Yeah.
October.
exactly. It's really
So
the beginning, isn't it?
no doubt, I think if you ask them, if you can wave a magic wand and be home right now, they'd
Yeah.
pull the ripcord and go home in a second.
But 6 months,
Oh,
given where they're trending,
Yeah.
6 months from now, they may have a different take on it.
a little bit harder if you're already 11 or 13. But the picking up of the language and the making of friends and the adopting of the French attitude is fabulous to witness, isn't it?
It is. Watching them in sports, because again, they came in with a skill set that
Yeah.
was known, came in knowing how to play volleyball, but the way they play volleyball here is so different, and
Oh,
the
is
way
it?
it's different,
Mhm.
and their coaches, by and large, don't speak
Don't speak
English.
English, so
Right.
They
yeah.
were, I mean, wide-eyed and
Yes.
and lost the first couple of weeks, but as they've,
Okay.
shown that they have this skill set, suddenly they've developed trust with the kids on the team. A few of them speak a little bit of English, so it's helped them develop connections in very different ways.
Yes.
And it's interesting because they tell us the French we learn in school is very different than the French we learn at volleyball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say most of our girls' friends speak 2 or 3 languages. Ours are the only ones
Oh,
that
they
are
will, though. They will. You wait. Give them a year. They definitely will be at
Yeah,
least bilingual.
it was really interesting when we first got here. And as Americans, people have perceptions of, if you're from New York or from California, kind of what they think you're going to be like. And it was interesting because everyone asked, well, how did you find Mougins? How did you end up here? Kind of like this area is kind of a little secret. Like, how did you find it?
Good question. How did you? How did
Yeah,
you know?
well, it
somewhat
was.
serendipitous,
Yeah,
perhaps.
it
I
was a
don't
bit
know.
of happenstance because again,
Yeah.
you think you're going on sabbatical and you read, books like Eat, Pray, Love, and you think, oh, you're going to go and have this magical experience. How do you end up there? Ours was a vacation that turned into an idea that turned into a reality. So we were here a few years ago on vacation. We were staying in Cannes in an apartment with our girls for kind of a summer holiday, and we'd spent enough time at the beach that it was nice warm weather that we decided to kind of get in the car one day and explore, and we could see this little village from Cannes, and we went, let's go that way. And we kind of got in the car and went to lunch in this idyllic little village, which was the View Village in Mougins. And we realized that, you walk up to the town center and there's a huge sculpture of Picasso's head, and you can actually climb into the back of it and look out of his eyes. And the girls were playing on it. And we're like, oh, what is this town? And then come to find out there's a museum there, and it's where Picasso actually lived a significant portion of his life and painted. And so we kind of explored the town. We're like, this is just adorable and it's really cute. And as we started to look at the town a little more, we drove by Mougins British International School after lunch, and we actually,
A little happenstance.
good on us. We actually parked in the parking lot, walked up to the gate,
Wow.
and rang the bell.
Totally unannounced. Totally unannounced. I mean, we were driving down the road. It was just beautiful. We're just we had finished lunch, and the view from the village, it's a hilltop village, is just 360 degrees. So you're looking around and we're like, let's just go drive. We drive and we go past the school, and I just had this harebrained idea. I'm going to pull over. Pull over. We're ringing the bell on the outside. They asked us, we said, hey, is there, an administrator or someone we can speak with? And they were super welcoming. And we sat down.
We spent an hour during
We spent an hour.
lunchtime.
We were there for an hour and a half. They took us on a tour, and our girls went, can we go to school here? And it was just this
Best reaction.
all kind of came together. It's a beautiful school. It's set up right against the Mamasque forest.
It's kind of this wooded little
it's
magical place.
charming, and it just seemed like the kids were happy. And we heard, we were there just on their lunch break, and so you heard and you saw the kids.
Oh, that's a great noise, isn't it? The
and you
chatter.
hear multiple different languages being spoken.
Yeah.
You heard the kids out there playing football, and you can tell they're, multiple different languages, and the kids seem generally happy, not a super strict, rigid, what I would normally think of a school of that stature. So anyways, fast forward, we started the wheels turning. This was a couple of years before we made the decision. It kind of went from a
What
dream
if?
to, all right, what is it going to take to get from the dream? And that took us about 2, 3 years to make it happen. But it was a very concerted effort to move back to this specific area because the
Yeah.
fact for us, having kids, school age, school was the center of gravity for us.
You know, the great thing about being a really solid family unit is we can pick this up and take it anywhere and know it can be successful from a family standpoint.
Yeah.
The question was, could we pick up this family unit and drop it somewhere, and could it be successful from, hitting all of the needs and wants as far as, having a comfortable home environment, having a successful educational environment for our kids, a good peer group for them in where they're getting their social interaction, but then hits all the high points of replacement factor. If you're going to take all of the knowns at home and all of those creature comforts and you're going to remove those, where can you put someplace where you feel like, we knew we wanted warm weather, we wanted ocean, we wanted places where all of the activities that we really like, which is swimming, biking, running, hiking, outdoor, we were going to be able to do those things throughout the year. And if we wanted cold weather, we could drive an hour and a half and go to the mountains and go ski. So
Exactly.
it was more of a, could we make our, the things that we love about home, could we pull ourselves entirely out of that, get uncomfortable, create a new experience, but then still maintain all of the things that we really enjoy doing. And I said, through happenstance and a couple of trips here, we suddenly went, we think we could make it work here, and then finding an environment where academically our children would be challenged and socially they would thrive.
Yeah.
I think we did a pretty bang on job finding.
Yeah, some of it we recognize as just maybe a little bit of luck. I don't know. Although we did do our homework and research, and we more than just that singular trip. We did 2 or 3 other trips here.
Yeah.
We
Sounded it out.
but
And how
now
did you, was part of your research how you came across Richard Hammond and French
Yes.
Consultant HCB?
Yeah,
Was
I,
that
I
part of-
had I had kind of this DIY approach initially, thinking, okay,
We'll do it ourselves.
I was on the French, government website, and it looked
Yeah.
relatively straightforward because actually, even though it's, everyone jokes the French love bureaucracy and red tape, but it's fairly organized. Like you go
Yeah.
on and you're like, okay. And then first blush, it seemed perfectly surmountable.
Manageable. Yeah.
And then I started reading or watching other, I don't know, somewhere, YouTube, this and that about couples and families that had done it. And I started like, okay, I think I need to listen to those that have had difficulty
Yeah.
and the challenges. And then as I got closer to it, realized, okay, this is silly. Let's get some professional help. And hands down, without any hesitation, I would say anyone who does this on their own.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, if you'd lived in France and you were fluent in French, I would say maybe.
Even then, guys, I've got to
Everybody
say,
else, I would say it just doesn't make any sense to try and do this on your own. No way.
No.
There's just you've got too much writing on this. I mean, if you're going to go to all the trouble to uproot your life and move and do all this change, that's stressful enough. The last thing you need is, and to be fair, you're still going to have stress in this, in doing all the logistics, even with the help of HCB, it's still very stressful.
yeah.
If you are going to undertake this kind of relocation, you have to be willing to do a lot of work, do everything, by the book, and still expect the wheels are probably going to fall off at some point. And you're going to have to roll with it and overcome obstacles. And, I think we were really fortunate.
But would you say it's all been worthwhile so far?
Oh, absolutely.
I would say to anyone, and we both, of course, have friends and family that all say they want to do this journey, because again, it's, from the outside looking in, it seems, kind of the French holiday dream, dream reel. Obviously, the reality is a little different than that. But for us, hands down, it's been worth it. But we went into it, I think, with some realistic expectations. We came to an area that we had been to a number of times. We were quite confident the school was going to meet our needs.
Yeah.
We had come out on a house hunting trip. We knew we were, moving to a place that was going to be, I mean, everything kind of lined up from that
You were
perspective.
well prepared, really.
Yeah,
Weren't
for those that don't do well with change, or particularly all of the random interruptions, as Jen said, prepare or plan for things not to work out. I mean, I could spend an hour on the difficulties of getting a French bank account, of getting utilities, of getting everything is 20 times harder than it is in the US. Things are so much more organized. Here it is. Again, it's just learning a new system,
It's a
but
new system, and I think the only reward is that when it does work out, how what a triumph it
And
feels
we're
like.
never getting rid of our French bank accounts now that
No, don't ever let them go.
that French bank account was, and that's the piece that it's almost like once you know you're coming, start working on that bank account, even if you have to use the US address to do it.
Yeah.
You need to establish that bank account for everything.
For everything. It's like a mobile phone, though, isn't it? Your bank account won't work unless you have a French mobile. There's a sequence of events.
And that was the chicken and the egg, in which we had to, we needed our French bank account, and everything's verified on your French phone. And we had to change everything because we initially had an eSIM on our phones until we could get a permanent contract. So yeah, all of those things, I feel like there needs to be, when you are introduced to a new client, you need to like sign a contract for, are you okay with heart palpitations? How are you with stress? How are you like, there needs to be a questionnaire to say like
a medical, shouldn't there, before anybody's
yes,
allowed to
we
even
can
start
give
the
you
process.
all of the tools to make it successful, but can you handle everything that's going to happen in order for it to go through? And from there on out, yes, absolutely, we'll take you as a client and realize we'll help you. The one thing that HCB is missing is a relocation and moving company. Like that would be the one that everything that we did, from packing up our items, using a company that was a US based company that had an international arm to do it, and our stuff getting to Marseille and going through customs and all of that. Eric could tell you